Hi guys, welcome to your first fundamental skills video. So we're going to be talking about personal hygiene today, and the most complex of the bathing process is a complete bed bath. So that's what we're going to kind of tackle today. What goes hand in hand with that is a full bed change. So we're going to do that as they kind of pair well together. You're going to do a full bath, you're going to be changing the bed linens as well. So before we get started on that, I want to go ahead and take you through what some of the supplies are going to look like. So remember, a complete bed bath is all from head all the way down to toes. So you're going to want to complete the patient's hair as well, or the residents. So in this case, I'm showing you what we have is a shampoo cap here. So it looks just like a cap that you put on their hair. You massage it in, and then it will give their hair a little bit of a wash. It is a no rinse, and on some units at RGH, we actually have these housed in a warming equipment to help warm that up so it's not cold on the patient's head. So a great choice for a patient who's bedridden and hasn't had their hair washed in a while. Another option that you could use is any kind of Johnson product where you could actually use a shampoo tray and wash their hair as well. You might see that more often in the long-term care facilities. Then there are different types of baths. So a bag bath, and you may see this on some of the units, would be sort of these wipes that almost look like baby wipes that you would utilize as a washcloth to wash the patient down with. The most important thing with this is to remember not to throw these in the toilet. And then other supplies, well, you need what you're going to cleanse the patient with. Soap is the best choice. Some facilities will use a no rinse wash. This is actually a peri-wash. So it really should only be used for the perineum of the patient or resident, and it helps remove those maybe some soiled excrement on the patient that you really can't get off, kind of tough to get off. So that would be something we would use. No rinse, you only need one washcloth for that. Versus regular soap, we would need a soapy washcloth and a rinse washcloth. So every facility is kind of different in what they use, so you can check with the facility that you're working for. Other things that you might see in terms of hygiene would be mouthwash, pretty standard. Baby powder, just remember with baby powder you want to be careful for your patients that have respiratory illnesses. And then for some floors will have this roll-on deodorant. If not, you can always ask the patient if they have their own supplies. Also included in activities of daily living, which is your personal hygiene, is going to be shaving the client. So remember, shaving the client, you're going to have shaving cream and you're going to have a razor. Remember that you need to check and see if the patient is on any blood thinners prior to shaving. You don't want to cut them and cause any bleeding. And the last thing is our Alavesta, and this is a great protective ointment that can be used for people that have dry skin, any reddened areas. It's sort of made of a Vaseline type product, and it helps wick away moisture very easily from the client. So that's a great tool for you to use as well.
Ms. Palmer, can I put that on someone's perineal area?
No, you never want to put this cream on the peri area. You can put it on the sacral area, but you don't want to get into the mucous membranes of the perineum. So, and then you're going to need your pink basin. These are often housed in the patient's nightstand, so you might want to check there first for one. If you don't have one, you may need to get a new one. So these are all the supplies that you may be bringing into the room with you. In addition to that, you need to bring in, if they already aren't in here yet, your linens. So So when you get your linens from the linen cart, what will help you be more efficient? And it's very frustrating both for you and the patient if you're walking in and out of the room because you forgot this or forgot that. So what will help make you more efficient is if you pile the linens up in order of what you're going to use first. So first thing I'm going to use is a bottom sheet. So I'm going to put that on the bottom. The next thing I'm going to use is a draw sheet. So I put that next. Remember, draw sheets are half the size of top sheets, so that's how you know. The top sheet's going to be a little bit more weightier than the draw sheet. A disposable pad. Some facilities may use actual ones that you would wash, so you need to just figure out whether or not it's going to be disposable or washable. A top sheet, a bedspread, and then a pillowcase. And what you're going to do is, now that you know you have all the pieces you need, you're just going to take that and flip it right over. Now it's going to be in the order that you need to have it in when you go into the room and take care of the patient. In addition to that, you're going to need a gown, a bath blanket to put over the patient, at least 2 to 3 towels depending on the patient, whether they're very soiled, and then your washcloths, and in this case our patient is incontinent, so we're going to apply Depends. So we would have that too. So it's a lot of pieces that you need in order to prepare for this, but if you make sure you have all those ready before you get started, again, you won't get frustrated and the patient won't get frustrated, or resident won't get frustrated. So we're going to go right into the room, remembering our 3 steps when we go into the room. So we're going to knock on the door, knock, 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 wait for the client to say we can come in. I'm just going to move this right in, but this would be in here already. I'm going to wash my hands. And I'm going to introduce myself to Miss Jones here. So good morning, Miss Jones. My name is Andrea. I'm going to be your student nurse today. How are you feeling this morning? She's feeling pretty good. So I'm going to be giving you a bath. It's probably going to take me about an hour, but I think you're going to feel great after we get done with this. I'm going to wash your hair, I'll give you a nice back massage, and I'll change these linens for you. So you always want to kind of work the patient into the bath. Sometimes they just don't want to because they don't feel good, but sometimes it's all about your approach. So, you know, just be warm, be positive, think about the patient. Think about the patient all the time. So before I apply my gloves, I would make sure I pull the curtains, and I may even tell Miss Jones, I'm pulling these curtains because I want to make sure I maintain your privacy. Pull the curtains, and then I'm going to go ahead and put on my gloves here. And then I'm going to go ahead and raise the bed. So remember, body mechanics are very important. You want to make sure you're raising the bed here. Now in this case, Miss Jones really doesn't move very well. So I'm going to clean the whole front half of her, and then I'm going to call in one of my peers or colleagues to come help me roll her. You never want to roll a patient by yourself. It can hurt you and it can hurt the patient. So you need to get help at that point. So I'm going to move the water a little bit closer. And I'm going to go ahead and cover her with the bath blanket. And then I'm going to have her, if she can, I'll have her hold this bath blanket and then pull down what's underneath here, the top sheet and the spread, keeping her covered at all times for her privacy. Now in long-term care facilities, the bedspread would then be folded up and used again, or it could be put in the wash, but patient family member may wash those things. So you may want to find that out first before you just throw it in the general population wash. So then I'm going to take off her gown. Keeping her covered again. And this is a good opportunity for you to talk to your client or resident or patient about how they're doing, survey the room for maybe family photos, ask about the family member in the photo, get the patient talking. So I always start my bath, as you should too, from head to toe. So at this time, I would wash her hair, but in this case, Miss Jones just got a permanent done, so she doesn't want me touching her hair at this point. Always ask the client before you do it, because the worst thing in the world is you go ahead and do it, and they get upset at you because you wash their hair. Then I would complete oral care at this time. Now that's going to be a separate video for you, so you can go ahead and look at that. So we're going to move right on to washing her face. Okay, and I'm just going to spread a towel over her, just to keep any water away from her. You're going to begin by making a mitt. So you're going to hold with your thumb the corner here, and you're going to wrap it around the back of your hands. And then you're left with this sort of excess. You're going to grab that and tuck that in. Now, this isn't really a necessary step. It's a nice step for the patient because you're not sweeping the wet washcloth across their face. Never use any soap unless the patient asks you for it. So nice warm water, starting first with the eyes, as there are a lot of bacteria can accumulate in the eyes. You're going to take a finger, inner canthus or inner corner of the eye, and you're going to work out. And you're going to utilize a different part of the washcloth, and you're going to do the top. Same way, from inner to outer. Same thing on the other side. And then you want to make sure you wash the face good, behind the ears, down the neck. And then dry the face. There. So we're moving down the body. I'm going to do the arms next. So I'm going to put another towel underneath her arm here, lengthwise. Now I'm going to get some soapy water. And while supporting her joint on her extremity, I'm going to wash from her fingertips to her axilla. Remember, this helps with venous return. This is also a good time for you to start thinking about range of motion, so you can start moving that extremity. Since you're already moving it, it's a great time to do that. Then I'll need a rinse. So I would rinse, and then I would dry. Always washing from distal to proximal, again, for that venous return. Okay? So I would then do the other arm, or I would finish up the thoracic area here and then move to the other side of the bed. It really depends on the size of the patient and whether I can reach over there with good body mechanics or not. So in this case, we're going to say the other arm is done, and we're going to move here to the chest. So only exposing what I'm washing at the time. I'm going to go ahead and expose her right side. So her breast, lifting the breast if they're large, all the way down to her abdomen, covering each time so that she's not exposed, rinsing and covering, and then drying. Really make sure you get the folds in the abdomen and under the breast nice and dry, because yeast or fungus can often grow there if it's wet and moist and dark. So I would do the whole upper and abdomen, and then I would do last the axilla or the armpits, because these can be odoriferous areas. So I would go ahead and wash that last. I'm going to get rid of my washcloths. I'm going to change my gloves. So I would have to put the bed back down, make sure she has a call bell, go out, get fresh water, and then come back into the room, wash my hands, and then gloves, and I've got new clean water and everything, so we can move down to the lower half of the resident or patient. So new gloves, put the bed back up. Remember, never ever leave the patient with the side rail or the bed, side rail down or the bed up in the air. That's a huge safety problem. Okay, so now we're going to do the legs. I'm just going to expose her leg here. That's why it's important to let that hand sanitizer dry, or it makes it kind of tricky to get into the gloves. So, okay. All right, so new towel, new washcloth. I'm going to clean her lower extremities. Oops, bend that leg there. Soapy water. Again, you're going to wash from the tip of the foot all the way up the leg. Again, promoting that venous return. Good time for you to move the extremities around. Remember, people that have contractures or are kind of bent up like that, when you move their extremities, that's going to help them. And I'm going to grab a rinse. Same thing. And then a dry. For the feet, you want to make sure you're really, really looking at the feet to make sure there's no sores. That includes lifting up, making sure there's nothing on the heel that's red, in between the toes, and cleaning that very thoroughly. If my patient was allowed to get out of bed, I would then maybe think about soaking their feet at this time. Kind of hard to do in the bed. Then I would do the other leg. Okay, so now we're going to do the perineum or the peri area. So I'll do the front, and then I will go ahead and call my peer in to help me roll the patient. So only exposing what I need to expose in order to clean her. I'm going to let her know what I'm doing here. Right there. I'm going to begin by undoing her depends or tens. Never call it a diaper. And then tucking the side that's furthest away from me. That's going to help when I go to roll her. That's going to help me be able to pull that side out easier. So pulling this down, I've exposed her perineum. Before I would go ahead and do this, I would then make sure I change my gloves and change my water. So I just cleaned her feet and legs It's really important that I change my gloves and change my water, especially when you're dealing with a sensitive area like the perineum. You want to do that with fresh, clean water right away. So, soapy washcloth. She's able to go ahead and pull her legs out a little bit. For women, we're going to wash front to back. So we're going to go ahead, the part closest to me, you're going to open up and clean down the labia with one swipe. Furthest away, with another swipe. And then open up the labia so you can go straight down the middle. And if we're using soap, again, we're going to have to do a rinse. So closest, furthest, and then down the middle. For men, you're going to go ahead and grab the penis at the base. You're going to go around the tip and then down the base, very gently. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to make sure you wash thoroughly underneath the scrotum and around the scrotum. So now we're going to dry. And again, you want to do this real gentle, very sensitive areas. So I'm going to cover it back up, and this would be the time I would again take off my gloves, put down the bed, wash my hands, take my basin to the sink, dump my water, fill it back up, come back in the room, put my bed back up, and put a new set of gloves on. Anytime you're really handling those areas that are different, you really want to make sure you're changing your gloves and changing your water. The more times you change it, the better. So if you ever have a question, just do it. Just change it. Okay, at this time I'm going to put on my call bell here. And Miss Turner actually has been in the hallway kind of looking for me to call for her to help roll this patient. So I'm just going to put on the call bell. So how are you doing today? You're doing okay?
Hello.
Oh, hi, Miss Turner.
What can I do for
I was
you?
hoping you could help me roll Miss Jones here. She's we're going to change her bed linens here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to help you.
What size gloves do you
I'll
wear?
have some mediums, please. Thank you.
So it's helpful for your peer if you go ahead and get all your supplies so that when they get in here, you can go ahead and do the task that needs to be completed. So I have my fresh water and I'm ready to roll this patient.
Okay, which way do you want it rolling?
Now she actually has a little bit of a hard time rolling, gets a little short of breath, so I want to make sure I change the bed linens and wash her all up at the same time.
Okay.
So what I want to do first is bend her leg here. So Miss Jones, I'm just going to bend this leg. Watch your fingers there. Okay. I'm going to bend the leg here furthest away from her. And then Miss Jones, I would ask you if you can cross your arms over your chest. And then I'm going to have Miss Turner grab the hip and the shoulder. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if Miss Jones had a lot of soiled area here, I would then maybe use this Attends to go ahead and wipe that away and get rid of this. Remember, these disposable items need to go because they're filled with body fluid sources. They need to go in a red bin or garbage designated by the facility. So I'm going to put it over here. And I'm going to utilize this one as well to go ahead and just wipe off more of that excess if I can. And then fold that under. And again, if my gloves were extremely soiled at this time because she had a lot of stool there, I would change them real quick before I started washing. Nice soapy water. I'm going to begin with her back. How's that feel, Miss Jones? Good?
Looks like she's really enjoying it.
Oh, good. She's got a little bit of a rash here. So I want to make sure I report anything that I see. Okay, Miss Jones, I'm just going to clean you down here. Your privates. Remember, front to back. If you had a really obese lady or somebody that you may have difficulty getting front to back in the front, this would be a time that Miss Turner, if she can, hold the leg up, and then I'm allowed to do a quick sweep front to back to make sure I got everything. And again, I would go ahead and rinse and dry. At this time, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and give her a back rub. It would be a great thing to do for your client if you can.
Would this be the time you would put some of that ointment on if she was?
Oh, absolutely.
If she was incontinent?
Yeah, so if there was any red area back here or incontinence, certainly the tailbone typically gets real red. I would put it on there. But you know, that skin protector can be used for lotion, really to protect any parts of the skin. Okay, so my hands are still dirty. So remember, dirty to dirty. In this case, I'm touching dirty linens. So I'm going to go ahead and undo the bed. Are you doing okay, Ms. Turner?
Yeah.
So always check on your peer to make sure that they're not getting tired, that they're watching the patient, making sure that the patient's okay.
She seems to be doing fine.
Can we just pull that back and just cover the back? Sure. Just don't want her to get cold. So I can take this rail down if I want to. Just remember that the rail has to go back up before you roll the patient towards you. You never want to roll a patient towards a rail that's down because it's very uncomfortable. So now I've handled all the dirty linens. I'm going to take my gloves off. Wash my hands. Put a clean pair on because I'm going to be touching clean linens. Dirty linens, clean linens. Starting with the bottom sheet, because I've got them all in a nice order here, I'm going to put on the bottom. And I think I am going to take this side rail down this turn. Yeah, it's kind of in my way. Now, it will feel like this bottom sheet won't be able to go on the bed, but it will. You got to tug and pull a little bit because they get washed in high temperatures and they shrink really easily. It will go on. Ms. Turner, can you hold this dirty stuff up for me? And then I can very easily tuck the clean stuff underneath. You never want to put the clean stuff on top of the dirty stuff because then you just made it dirty. Draw sheet comes next. Try not to fling the linens in the air. So I'm actually going to open it like this. I just find this easiest to find the middle first. The middle, you can see, is this long line right here. It's usually pretty crisp. And then the draw sheet always needs to be at the shoulders and then all the way down to the knees. So that's what you're going to be utilizing to move the patient up, down, left, and right. So we want it in the widest portion of the patient. Next is your disposable pad, chalk, whatever they call it at the facility you're going to be at. And I put that on sort of where the patient's buttocks is, the perineum area. And I'm just kind of gauging it. And then I'm going to roll all this back. Ms. Turner, can you hold that up for me? And roll all that under.
Just make sure you're careful of your patient's or resident's head as well. Sometimes that they can't tell you if you're hurting them or it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's really easy to pull them over so far that their head is into the side rail here or kind of falling off. So sometimes you might need to put the pillow up to protect their head or put your hand there to make sure that their head doesn't hit into that side rail.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm done with this portion. I'm going to go ahead and put my side rail up because we're going to roll Miss Jones back to me. So it's always important to let your patient know what you're doing before you do it. Miss Jones, we're going to go ahead and roll you back towards me, and there's going to be a big bump that you're going to have to roll over of dirty linens. Okay?
You want to make sure too that you don't have that bed bath or bed blanket all the way underneath the resident when you go to roll them back over, or it will be stuck underneath them. It'll be difficult to get it back out.
Good point.
All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we're going to roll you back towards me here. And you can cross her legs like that, or you can bend them, whatever is kind of easier for the client. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
And certainly our mannequin here today is a lot easier to move than your patients are going to be. So I know it looks like this is pretty easy to do, but once you have residents or patients that can't move around a whole lot, this is going to be much harder of a task. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you get rid of your disposable pad. I'm going to give that to Miss Palmer to put in the trash over there because, again, that can't go in the soiled linen bin. Then you kind of want to start at the top and really just work your way kind of getting all of this dirty stuff out and really just kind of rolling it away from all that nice clean stuff. We're going to take all of this right with us here. And we're not going to hug this dirty linen. We're not going to hold it against ourselves. We're going to try to roll it up as best as we can to kind of contain all those microorganisms. And it's going to go right in the soiled linen bin.
Remember, never ever on the floor. That's really bad. So always in the soiled linen bin, or if you had to set it on the bottom of the bed or on a tray table where you'd have to clean the tray table off afterwards. Just never want to put linens on the floor.
That's right. I'm going to go ahead and pull through all of these clean linens now. Like Miss Palmer said, sometimes it seems like this bottom sheet isn't going to fit. Sometimes you got to really kind of pull here and tug and stretch that. But it will fit. Sometimes it's just a little bit more work. Sometimes you actually have to pick up the edge of the bed a little bit and kind of tuck it into the sheet. It'll help to pull it down. You want to make sure that you're getting as few wrinkles as possible here under your patient to prevent any pressure ulcers or bed sores or any sort of skin issues. You're going to pull this really, really nice and flat, same as the bottom sheet and your disposable pad here. We can go ahead and roll our resident back down.
Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. So now I'm just going to take it and tuck in my sides, and I see Miss Turner's doing the same. That's going to keep the draw sheet from wrinkling up underneath the client. And we don't want wrinkles because wrinkles can cause skin integrity issues or sores. So next we're going to do the pillows. Well, we'll do the top blankets since you're here to help me, Miss Turner. Is that okay?
Sure.
I'm sure you got somewhere you got to be, but just help me with this. I'll be all set. So we're going to undo it. Maybe. And we want the seam side to face up. I think so. Yeah. Seam side up so that when we go ahead and we pull it down, the seams aren't rubbing against the person's skin. So seam side up. Make sure you've got the middle or that line again in the middle of the patient. That way you're not dragging one side to one side. And now we're going to just pull all these linens down. The bed bath, bed blanket, and the towel. Miss Turner, I'm going to go ahead and put Miss Jones' gown on too, because I know she's probably getting a little chilly here.
Okay.
So I'm just going to put this right over and then wait for Miss Turner to grab her extremity, and then I'm going to grab mine. Don't worry, Miss Jones. We'll get you nice and warm in a minute. And we want to tie her gown for her. I'm going to lift up her head for you.
Okay.
Just hard time with that. Okay. Seam side up again with the bedspread. Or if you're using the client's bedspread, then you would go ahead and get that at this time. So let's do the top first, Ms. Turner. So let's pull this right down. And you just kind of fold it down depending on where the person wants it. She actually wants her hand out because she's going to brush her hair. Okay, then we're going to come down here and we're going to miter the corners together here, Miss Turner. So to miter the corners, you're going to take the bedspread and the top sheet, and it's best if you do it together. I think it makes it a little bit easier. You're going to lift the bed up and you're going to tuck it under the mattress part, not the whole bed, just the mattress. And then you're going to come about 1/3 of the way up, and you're going to grab both that bedspread and that top sheet, and you're going to make almost like a triangle with it. That triangle piece, anything left down here is excess and needs to be tucked in.
The more tight you are with tucking and the more neat you are, the better it will come out.
And then, so we're not concerned about pulling the patient's toes down. We're going to go ahead and do a little toe pleat, which we're just going to take the two linens and we're just going to round them out so that they can very freely move their feet about in there. So we're not pulling them down. Don't ever tuck all the sides of the linens in because that can be considered a restraint because the person can't get out of it.
You know, Ms. Palmer, I realized we forgot to put our brief back on
Oh,
our resident. So maybe we should do that before we leave.
okay. Yeah, I think actually they wanted it off at night because her skin has been a little bad. So yeah, they were going to keep the brief off at night just to give her skin some time to kind of air out.
But isn't the urine going to go everywhere then? So
Well, that's why we put that pad underneath there.
That's good. So that will help to pull the moisture away from her skin.
Absolutely. And we could even take another one of those disposable pads and put it over the top of her in order to make sure her gown and top sheet didn't get wet either.
Oh, that's a really great idea.
Yeah, they don't want us to do that at night. It's on our care plan. So.
Oh, I'm glad you know.
Yeah. So now we're going to go ahead and finish with her pillowcases here. So here you go, Miss Turner. You want to do one of them for her?
Sure.
There we go. So the key to doing pillowcases is making sure that you take the pillowcase and turn it inside out. And then you're going to grab the pillow by where the tag is because you don't want the tags facing on the outside where it can touch the patient's skin. So you're going to grab the tags and then without touching your clothing, you're going to roll that up. And the whole point again is cutting down on microbes. You don't want to, like if you're at home, you put the pillow underneath your chin and put the case on like that. You don't want to do that here because you're touching that pillowcase, that clean pillowcase against your scrubs. And then you can create like a little envelope. It just makes the pillow look nice and keeps the pillow edges away from the patient. And then raising your head again, we would go ahead and place that opening away from the door. So Ms. Turner, you've been a great help here. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad I could assist you.
Yes. So while Ms. Turner is finishing up there, you just want to make sure you do your final 3 safety pieces. Remember, you're going to do this for every patient, every time, no matter what. So one of those things is making sure that the person has their call bell. It's actually on Ms. Turner's side. So when she gets finished, I'll just ask her to hand that to the person's dominant side. Remember, sometimes they may not be able to move a certain extremity. So you want to make sure they have it in the extremity they can move, which in this case is her left. I'm going to make sure my bed is lowered and also locked, and I can test it to make sure it's locked by just giving it a gentle little nudge. In the acute care settings, the top side rails need to be up at all times. In long-term care, it really depends on what their care plan says, so you need to refer back to that. Never all 4 restraints or all 4 side rails, just the 2, because that would be considered a restraint, all 4. And then Ms. Jones, do you need anything before we go ahead and leave? No, you're doing okay? You want your head up a little bit? Okay. Tell me when. Okay, that's good. Good. Okay. Thank you.